Lawn bowling is more than just a game. There's no talking on the green.
Genuine 1972 prices.
And nothing this soft. Just stick it right up them, right up them.
Welcome to Without Bias. Brought to you by Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Apia, dedicated specialists ready to help. Call 13 50 50. Apia, get set, go. Local legends wanted. A bowls green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me.
Welcome to Without Bias for another week. Great to have your company. Big show. Joining us a little later, Rebecca Van Asch. But first, without any further ado, let's get to our first guest of the evening. Natasha Van Eldik is a Jackaroo, plays for Australia, Murray Steamers representative, back in action in the BPL, and she's been good enough to jump on the line with us. Hello, Natasha.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. Now, do you prefer Natasha or Natasha? Because my sister is a Natasha, and I go with a Natasha, but other people call her Natasha. What do you prefer?
I prefer none of those. I rather go with Tash. It makes it simple, and it's less formal.
Let's go with Tash then. Thank you very much. I always ask the most hard-hitting question first. How good's it been to be back? BPL, you're with the Murray Steamers, just to be at a national event again in front of raucous crowds, music, colour, fun, excitement, which is everything the BPL is, the Bowls Premier League and more. It must have meant the world to be back, especially after the COVID layoff.
Definitely. COVID really rocked, the world pretty much, and it stopped us from being in competition, and it was just lovely to get back out there, see everyone again and play some competitions against, some of the best in the world.
Now, Steamers made the grand final. You fell to the Ospreys, which a few teams are doing at the moment. You and Ryan Best and Michael Walker seem to have a really good team dynamic getting there. How do you achieve that dynamic through a short week of preparation, living in different parts of the country?
Yeah, it was really good experience to play with the two guys, Mickey and Ryan. And I guess, we all play a very similar game. So we just went out there and we always said that we were just going to have tons of fun, and whatever happens, happens. And, we were lucky enough to make the final and obviously go down to a star-studded side in the Tweed Ospreys, but they were on fire that weekend. It was just fantastic to be out on the green and, able to play, as I said, against some of the best in the country.
What's the BPL done, do you think, for bowls? Obviously, it's televised on Fox, KO as well. It is. I've always described it for people who want to know. It's like the Big Bash League for cricket, but it is such an exciting event. What do you think it's done for the landscape of lawn bowls?
I think it's brought in the younger generations, because it's more appealing to those. It's quick, it's fast, it's enthusiastic, and anyone can go out and pretty much play this kind of format and have just as much fun as what we have on the green as well. So I think it's done wonders for the younger generation, and also probably people that would never have thought they'd ever play bowls, can see this on the TV and go, well, hold on a second, that looks like loads of fun, so let's go down to the local bowls club and see what they can do for us.
We're speaking to Tash Van Eldik on Without Bias. Local legends wanted, search bowls clubs near me, and we do it for Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Apia, a dedicated specialist, ready to help. Call 13 15 50. Apia, get set, go. Tash, the Australian Championships next week. You're in the triples and the pairs. How are you feeling heading into the event in Dandenong, and how's the prep been?
Preparation's been fantastic. Loads of local bowls, and obviously just training on the green. And I've been lucky enough to play a lot of my local bowls with my two teammates that I will be down in Dandenong with. So it's been good in that aspect. But obviously not knowing and never played on Dandenong's green before. So we will be arriving a day early and just, trying to find some rhythm whilst we can. But we're just going to go out there, have some fun and see what happens.
Where is your local club?
My local club is Raymond Terrace in Newcastle.
Beautiful. And so I'm fascinated by that when you go to a green, and this is, you often speak to any golfer about it. One of the first things they'll do is go and have a look at any putting green and see just how fast it is, see how much it's moving, the deviation, all that kind of stuff. For you guys, and people might think, well, it's all just flat and straight, isn't it? What are you looking for when you look at a bowling green from club to club?
I suppose they're all different surfaces. There's all different types of grass greens as well. When it comes to synthetics, it depends on how it's been laid, what the surface is underneath, the carpet, what direction they're going to be playing us in. But it's also a good, I suppose, day to look at your opposition. You get a feeling for how they're playing as well. We're lucky enough in the triples that we get a bye on the very first night, so we'll be able to sit down and watch some of the other teams and see how they're playing and if they're playing any tactics, and then we can go out and play against them the following day.
Australian Test opener Matt Hayden used to walk out barefoot with gloves on and a cricket bat and meditate on the middle of the pitch. Is that something that you employ, or not that serious?
Look, I am a little bit serious, and I do have other ways of dealing with that, but meditation isn't quite my thing.
Sure.
I probably look at, just the normal rituals of a morning, putting the left sock on first before the right, and keeping it simple.
Beautiful. Hey, outside of bowls, you're a childcare educator. How do you juggle that role with your bowls, and talk us through what your main responsibilities are?
Yeah, so I work at a centre in Port Macquarie where I'm living at the moment. It holds 128 children a day,
Wow.
And I work in, because I'm a casual, I work in any ages from, 3 months up until 5 years, just before they go to school. And I can be in any room on one day, looking after anywhere between 13 and 25 children a day. But I love it. I live it. I breathe it. It gets my head away from the bowling green, and it's really satisfying to see the children develop over time and learn new skills. And, when you come back, no matter how bad your day's been or, how long you've been away for, the kids will always remember you, and they just greet you with the biggest smile, and it's just a fantastic feeling. So, I love my job. I'm very grateful that I'm able to come to work, and my employer understands the situation with bowls, and she gives me shifts whenever I can work, but they're very supportive of me and proud of what I do, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's brilliant. We often forget in the world of elite sport that sometimes from sport to sport, you can't always be a full-time professional in it, and the supportive workplaces all around are just crucial in you being able to do what you do. But for so many athletes, to have a supportive workplace is the difference between being able to compete and not compete, and oftentimes being successful and unsuccessful, because when you've got a supportive workplace like that, I imagine that reduces the stress levels and the anxiety when it comes to your day-to-day life a whole lot more.
Absolutely. Even, just coming to work, that they're okay with, if you've got to duck off and, do some training or something. But obviously in the childcare, you can't just leave the children by themselves. So you've got to be quite organised. I'm
writing that down. Hoping to be a father one day. I'm gonna write that one down. Do not leave by them. Yep. No, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm learning. So you are an educator.
Yeah, it's really important to have a supportive employer and make sure that they understand what you're doing, and it's kind of like your work is your hobby and your sport that you play is your job.
Yeah, okay. I understand. That's a fascinating insight, isn't it? That you're able to set yourself up mentally like that. Do you feel like there's any skills that you've transferred from your Monday to Friday, so to speak, to your pursuits as a bowler?
Yeah, I suppose with children you can't get frustrated because they're learning, they're developing, and the majority of the skills that they're trying to learn, they just haven't grasped yet. So you can't get frustrated with them, and that's definitely one thing that I've learnt to take onto the bowls green as well is, it's simple to get frustrated, but it's easier not to.
It's been great to chat to you, Tash Van Eldik. I almost did it again. Thank you so much. Good luck at the Nationals. Really looking forward to seeing how you go there. You're in the triples and in the pairs, Australian Championships in Dandenong next week. Good luck with it all, and we'll chat to you again soon. Thanks for being on Without Bias.
Thanks very much.
Tash Van Eldik on Without Bias. We do it all for Bowls Australia. Local Legends Wanted at Bowls Green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me. And for Apia, dedicated specialist ready to help, call 13 50 50. And before we head to the break and come back with Rebecca Van Asch, our right at home player of the week must go to our national assistant coach and bowls legend Karen Murphy. She's recently been appointed as a national selector, as well as being selected by the AIS to participate in a women's leadership program aimed at increasing the role that women play in sport across our nation. That's for right at home aged care at home. Right at Home are Australia's leading provider of home care and disability support. You're listening to Without Bias, part of the Sporting Capital on SEN. Coming up after this, Rebecca Van Asch will join us, another Australian BCiB Jackaroo. Don't go anywhere.
From the wide outdoors to the great indoors, this is Without Bias.
Brought to you by Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Local Legends Wanted. A Bowls Green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me.
Welcome back to Without Bias, all for Bowls Australia. Local Legends Wanted, search bowls clubs near me, and our good friends at Apia proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Sam Hargreaves here. Been a great show so far, and it's only going to get better. Joining us now, CEO of Bowls Tasmania. She's also a BCiB Jackaroo for Australian bowling and a star of the caper. Rebecca Van Asch has been good enough to jump on the line. Hello, Beck.
Hey, Sam. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, I better check. Do you prefer Rebecca or Beck? It's been a theme tonight.
No, we better go with Beck because otherwise I'll think I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Hey, I am the same because I'm a Samuel, so whenever I hear someone say Samuel, I straighten up and get very nervous.
Yes. Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
It's great to have you on for a chat and really appreciate your time. Bowls Australia is also celebrating National Careers Week in conjunction with the AIS this week. Now, you've played a few national events since bowls have returned, including BPL 12 and the Australian Champion of Champions events. How nice has it been to get back in the swing? We're asking everybody that, and it might be a repetitive question, but it's an important question given what this sport and every sport's been through over the last 18 months.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Like it's been really good to all get back together. We've been fortunate here in Tassie. We've had a lot of domestic play happening throughout this season, but there's been nothing better than getting back into national comps. And like you said, BPL, Australian Champions. It's been a busy few months on that scene, but it's been really enjoyable to get back and playing really competitive bowls.
What did you miss most about playing?
I've been asked that question a few times, and I think it's probably the people. It probably sounds a bit cliche in a sense, but I think especially being part of that Jackaroos contingent, and it's our family away from home. It's a second family to us, being with all the squad members. So not having that environment for 12 months and being away from all of our close mates, that was probably the biggest thing for me, and just getting back and. Although I've been competing against them mostly, just being back in their company has been really enjoyable.
How did you all stay in touch? Was there regular Jackaroo Zoom chats or house party or any of those kind of apps?
We certainly gave Zoom a fair workout. We were having really regular meetings during that time. So as a whole Jackaroos contingent, and then in smaller groups as well. At the time we were still hoping the World Championships was going to go ahead. So the team selected for Worlds was also having some catch-ups. And then look, on a more personal note, we had a few girls catch-ups through that time, through FaceTime and Zooms and different things as well. So it was still a fairly social period. But yeah, it wasn't quite the same as being together face-to-face.
I was thinking about this, and I reckon bowls is actually a sport that, and I hope we never have to do, so touch wood, but if we ever had to go back into a lockdown situation, but you were able to be at a green by yourself, you could actually play a Zoom game with somebody else if they were on another green. It would take a little while, but essentially if you were lead, then you go first, and then they just put a ball, then you take your camera up and you show the proximity. They would then put a ball in proximity to the kitty, and then they would have their go, and then they would do the same.
We can maybe work some things out.
Do you see what are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, I'm getting it. I think we could maybe work something out. It'd be a bit of a challenge, but we could probably make do if we needed to.
Let's hope that we never have to do. Yeah, exactly. I'm probably jinxing us by even saying this. So let's move on very quickly. The Australian Championships is taking place at Club Dandenong next week. How do you think your Tasmanian contingent will fare?
Yeah, we've got a full contingent heading over, which we're pretty excited about, and it feels like a while ago that they won their way to get to those championships. It was early last year for us in Tassie that our state champions were crowned. But look, we've got some great competitors heading over, and I'm hopeful that they're going to do really well. I'm expecting some really exciting things coming out of our Tasmanians over there, and I'm looking forward to following a bit of it on the live stream.
Beautifully done. Wanted to discuss your career outside of bowls because it's actually inside of bowls as well, if that makes sense. You're the CEO of Bowls Tasmania. Talk us through that role and what it entails day to day, week to week.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm probably a bit of a jack of all trades in my role,
pun.
as opposed to, pardon the pun, as opposed to some of my fellow CEOs across the country. I'm the sole employee at the moment here in Tassie, so that means I'm across pretty much every area. So from the basic day-to-day admin duties, right through to our sponsorship negotiations and working with government and things like that as well. So, look, every day is different, and it's probably one of the things that I really like about the role as well, that there are so many varying tasks amongst what I do. But it's, not many people get to say that they get to do a job that they love, and that's where I'm really fortunate. I'm doing a job that I love in the sport that I love. So can't get much more fortunate than that, I guess.
What's the state of bowls in Tasmania like, Beck? We've seen the explosion of barefoot bowls and nighttime bowls and Jack High and all these programs that are that are basically being implemented to bring younger people and people into the sport to experience. Have you guys had a similar sort of boom in those areas?
Yeah, and I think it's a trend that we're seeing all around the country. Our traditional membership has probably declined over the last few years, like many sports. People don't seem to want to be locked into the traditional formats any longer, and the long, arduous seasons that we sometimes have. So we have about 5,500 fully registered bowlers here in Tassie, but we have over 18,000 participants in the sport. And we classify participants as having tried the game 4 times or more, so actually playing on a more regular basis in some sort of barefoot bowls, social bowls type competition. So we're just seeing a huge trend in that. And I think if you spoke to a lot of sports, they would probably say the same things, where people like these short, sharp formats of the game.
Yep.
They do love going to the local bowler and enjoying quite often cheaper beverages.
Massive draw.
Sometimes a sausage or a hamburger in one hand and having a bowl in the other hand. And, our bowls clubs are such beautiful and friendly social environments, and so family friendly, that's encouraging families and groups of friends into the clubs as well, which is one of the things that we're seeing here in Tassie as well.
Are you amazed at the explosion of that? I mean, barefoot bowls, I think it started out as hipsters trying to find something that was deemed to be a little bit obscure, and then it turns. I've done barefoot bowls in so many different formats with so many different in so many different types of situations. So work dues, footy club bondings, footy trips, bucks days, weddings. Work, you name it. There's been, I can think of birthdays, of course. There are so many different ways in which it's been incorporated in just to everyday social experience that it's you wouldn't have predicted that in your wildest dreams.
No, I don't think anyone probably would have seen that it would take off the way it has. In a way, that's probably partly why we're seeing traditional membership go down a little bit, is because people are loving this new vibrant side of the sport. And I think what's probably really appealing to the public with our sport is that it appeals to so vast array of people. It appeals to those people that are really sporty and that are usually pretty handy at most sports they turn their hand to, but also those that tend to not be drawn to the traditional sports, like bowls as well, because they can still be quite competitive. They can still enjoy themselves and still have a good time with it. Such a vast array of ages and abilities. We've got many disability groups as well as our able-bodied groups that come and play along. We've got clubs. I was at a club not long ago that had a 9-year-old member and a member that was 102. still actively involved in the club.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Hey, Beck, speaking of Beck Van Asch on Without Bias for APIA and Bowls Australia, Beck, your role as a CEO of Bowls Tasmania, does it make it easier or harder when you're a player as well, both nationally and internationally?
Well, good question. And I think it probably goes both ways a little bit. There's a lot of ways that it has allowed me to play internationally for longer. Obviously having a job in the sport that has allowed me to be fairly flexible, which is something that I really appreciate. Having said that, I work a lot while I'm away and on the road as well, so it has its drawbacks in that sense that I'm potentially playing international bowls through the day and still working my 30 hours of a night. So there's things like that has been good and bad, and it's hopefully one of the things that I've really thought was beneficial about it was the fact that that I think it's probably kept me accessible to our bowlers, and so many of our players feel that it's okay to come up and speak to me when I'm out playing, and that gives me a real finger on the pulse at grassroots level, which is something that I think has definitely benefited me in my role.
Well, especially because when people say, well, our CEO, and you look at your CEO, and sometimes people think that CEOs and presidents are far removed from what's actually happening on the green or on the field or on the course. But they can't say that with you because you're standing right there next to them. So it is a great way to feel, for them to feel that you're accessible, that you're relatable. It's a wonderful thing. So well done with that. Good luck with what's ahead for the rest of the year. Good luck to the Tassie contingent as well at the Australian Championships. And we thank you for being on Without Bias, Beck.
No problem, Sam. And I hope you're right. Hopefully our bowlers down here do find me really accessible and know that I have them at heart and I'm working for the sport down here. So thanks for your time, Sam, and good luck to everyone competing next week at the Nationals. Beautifully
done. Beck Van Asch, who's the CEO of Bowls Tasmania, also an Australian Jackaroo. That's it for Without Bias for another week. Don't forget, Local Legends Wanted at Bowls Green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me. Big thanks to Tash Van Eldik and Beck Van Asch for their time this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you missed any of it, check out the Bowls Australia website. You can also get sen.com.au and the podcast will be up there. We do it all for APIA, dedicated specialists, ready to help. Call 13 50 50. Get set, go.